Welcome everyone, it's RomeroXVII. I'm coming off of my title defense on ESFL Gaming for UFC 4, and I'm going to break down how exactly I beat my opponent. Now, I had actually taken some time to watch my opponent's last few fights, specifically against GOAT1099 and against Peyton, who is a part of Vegas MMA. And a main part of my opponent's game plan was using this forward slip rear hook, and this is a big part of the meta right now in striking. And a lot of people thought that if I make one simple mistake, say if I get a little bit too lazy with my jabs or straight strikes, Prime Boxer was going to be able to land one of these devastating counters and be able to catch me. It's one of the most common combinations are with this. It's going to be the slip forward rear hook followed up by double uppercut. So how exactly did I approach this fight knowing that this is what my opponent was good at, and how exactly I'm going to neutralize what he's good at? So one thing I figured out is that if it gets to where he's pretty predictable and he's lunging in with this forward slip hook, by initiating a back lunge with L1 and right stick or left stick and then inputting an uppercut, I'll be able to win the exchange. Even if it slightly lands on my head, it won't land at the full brunt of the damage, and I'll be able to win the exchange. So it's usually always a rear hook that people follow up with the slip rear hook. But once I evade, he'll be at a stamina disadvantage, and the lead uppercut or rear uppercut, whatever it is going to be, it's going to be able to land devastating damage that can get a drop or a knockdown off of it. So that's one counter I had in my bag heading into this fight, depending on how predictable my opponent was going to be. Obviously, it's going to come down to timing at the end of the day, and I was prepared to just wait out a little bit before I fully kind of gave away this is the counter that I'm going to be going for. Now, this isn't the only thing I figured out in the lab. I got a few more counters against this forward slip rear hook. Next thing is that I have to be careful for the 1-2 bait. Now, when it comes to the 1-2 bait, it's throwing a 1-2, or specifically the second strike as a straight strike, and you're trying to bait out the slip straight, right? But then they input the slip rear hook, and then they catch you with the rear hook as you try to input a slip straight a little bit too late. Now, it would work if I slip the jab, but there's a risk of my opponent throwing a jab hook instead. So common knowledge that people usually try to slip the second strike, and when they do that, they usually get hammered by that slip forward rear hook. So one thing I realized is that if I pull counter the forward slip rear hook, right, as you can see right here, I see the 1-2. I'm not gonna bite on this. My block is fine. I'm gonna pull. I barely eat the strike because I pulled it. It barely touches my nose, and I'm able to fire back a hard counter to get the drop. And you know, everybody and their mama is hitting this freaking forward slip rear hook combo in ranked championships and a lot of spars that I've seen. So if you have really good timing with the pull counter and you're very confident that your opponent's going to try to follow up with a second strike after a 2, your counter with the pull uppercut is your best bet to really send them to the canvas. Now, the next counter I have, you can also duck it, but the key part is you want to duck as your opponent's head moves off the center line. If you try to do it a little bit too early, the hook will kind of boop you on the head. It's kind of sucky, but it is what it is. So you just want to really perfectly time that duck to land that duck counter uppercut. Another thing that you can do, instead of trying to slip straight, if you inside slip and you fire off a slip rear hook and then follow up with an uppercut, a lead uppercut, this is another counter. So if you're not feeling too confident in your ability to pull a strike, instead of going for a slip straight, try to go for a slip rear hook and make sure that you follow up with a second strike, preferably the uppercut. If you catch them on the side that they're slipping to, it's going to do a lot of damage. Now, the final thing, and probably the more simpler methods, and I'll save this one for last for a reason, is just going to be planting hooks. If you plant hooks, you're going to be winning a vast majority of these exchanges, because once they slip their head off and you meet them in the middle and you plant your strike, you're going to be able to interrupt them. And if they don't start blocking their head, they're going to get dropped. They'll have enough time to block the third strike, but they will, I'm telling you, they will take a huge chunk off their head health because they're slipping into your hooks. So that being said, those are my options. I knew this heading into the fight. This is what my opponent's going to be really good at. So let's get forward onto the fight. So I am on the left corner. I'm going with Demetrius Johnson, and Prime Boxer looked like he was choosing Davison Figueiredo. The MS is at 102, 118. Usually, if the MS is that high, the striking is going to be relatively fine, but I do struggle just a tad bit when it comes to denials. I also haven't been playing as often, but I played a good, I think, hour. I played a good hour before this fight. I waited it out, watched the ESFL, and when it was time to go, it was time to go. I chose DJ rather than TJ because Demetrius Johnson has access to more takedowns, more subs, less power, but good amount of speed. He's overall pretty well rounded, and then Prime Boxer did the little switcheroo and decided to mirror me with DJ. And quite honestly, I was intrigued why he did that. I guess he didn't want to give up the speed advantage to me. Figueiredo has power, but he's slower. TJ also has power. I don't know how fast he is in comparison to DJ, but it's a good amount. So I found it really interesting that he felt, you know what? If he's going DJ, I'm going to go DJ. I'm not going to choose Cejudo. Cejudo, who has a crazy high block, I think at a 95. But yeah, this is who he went with. So heading into this fight, I'm like, all right. When it comes to having a game plan, when you're going against somebody, it's very important not to be too reliant on them, where you make it very predictable this is what you're going for. I know against a highly skilled opponent, obviously he's really good. He's beaten ESFL champs. He beat my teammate Papadoc in the Grand Prix. So I'm aware of how dangerous Prime Boxer is. So I'm coming into this fight. I'm going to give him respect. He earned his way to get here. He's the #1 contender. He's deserving of this moment. So we're going to get right on after it. Alright. So first things first, I'm looking to try to feint a few jabs. I switched to southpaw. Feinting the jab, trying to bait out the slip rear hook, right? I want to see how he's going to react. He has a tendency to try and lunge, and I was aware of that too. I saw it against Peyton. So I'm trying to catch him with a couple of hooks when I catch him behind the black line against the cage. See there, he's firing off with these 3-4 piece combinations, trying to get me to fire back. But look, my block is still pretty strong. Even though my short term is extremely low, I barely took any damage from that. And that's the first slippery hook. So I made that adjustment in my head. Am I alright? He's trying to really get me to fire back and meet him in the middle. So you see this? I'm feinting. Boom. It draws out another slip hook. So I'm alright. That's another slip hook. He really is trying to rely on it. And now he's going with the lead hook cross. And notice how we're both in southpaw right now. The reason I switched to southpaw as well is because I want to catch him with my rear hook. There's the 1-2 bait. Boom, I know this is coming. I'm not in proper position to kind of counter back. I was kind of hit stunned a little bit. But there I tag him with my own. I mix up to the body. He tries again with the slippery hook. And just like I said, I started a plant. He blocks the third strike. Smart man. But right there, I've won that exchange. Peep the head off. I've barely taken much damage when it comes to the head off exchanges. Again, look. I plant the hooks. And here, this is where I kind of like, got some bad habits in me that are ingrained that I gotta fix. I was trying to fire back. I'm like, wait, relax. This is a title fight. I'm good here. I'm winning these exchanges. Shout out to my partner, Bartholomew. He's one of the best players on this game, man. Here I drive him to the cage, and I go up on the left stick to initiate this cage turn TD, which results in this slam to side control. But for the hour that I played before this title fight, I thought, if I wasn't ESFL champ right now, Bartholomew would absolutely be the champ right now instead of me. He's an absolute animal, and when I don't play this game for like 3 or 4 days, that dude just wakes me up and just be like, all right, time to get shit in place. So here, I saw that he had really good denials against Peyton. He was able to reverse Peyton a couple of times in ground and pound. He almost got finished, and he ended up getting the finish himself. Peyton was the guy that was expected to be the #1 contender. So when he beat Peyton, I was like, oh man, this guy's better than I thought. Here he fires off a knee. I'm using R2 to try to block the bicep. He tries to go for another knee. I use the LS towards the underhook side, and I'm able to escape. The feint of the TD brings him to lower his guard. I plant the hooks against the forward slip, and he immediately covers up. So I'm winning these exchanges. Look at the long-term head health versus his. And look at the head health. I missed the pull counter. Got a little bit too overzealous there, but I'm winning the majority of these exchanges. Again, leading with hooks. And he's very eager to try to get one back. Notice the lack of body work. Right? Even if he's going for these body teeps, it's not really much. At the end of the day, Prime Boxer, he just wants to aim for my head. As you can see right there, he tried to up kick me, and I waited a second, I drew it out, and then I jumped in this guard. So here's about 30 seconds left. He fakes to the right, does a little bump, builds some GA, and he actually rolls me over. Just cool, there's only 20 seconds left. There's not much he can do. He poshes up, I'm fine here. Notice it don't cost stamina for me to block. I time the frame. I used L1 and right stick towards the hook to frame, and I reverse him. End up on top. Go for the submission. Why not? Score me some points. And I've definitely taken round 1. I've won the vast majority of the exchanges just like I had planned prior to this. And it's round 1. All right, things are going good. I want to see what adjustments he's going to make, or is he just going to be trying eager to get me to fire back, fire back, fire back. There it is. Now he's trying to force out the slippery hook. The jab teep. There's the lead hook cross. And immediately he's using the hook cross to try to bait me to slip into the forward hook. See this? Boom. So I'm going to bail to the TD. Slow him down. Let my head off recover. Take him to the cage. Clinch break. Land the hook. The uppercut lands. And right here, when you're against the cage and your block is low, do not concede ground to your opponent. You have to fire back. And he lost that exchange. Boom. There he is at low short-term head off, and now he's forced to retreat. And I'm very patient. Watch his head off. I'm making sure that I take the least amount of damage when it comes to these exchanges. Tries the back lunge. For a second, he went down to the body, and I'm noticing that he's swaying his head again. So now I'm cutting him off with hooks while he's against the cage, and that is tearing up his short-term block. He can still survive. It's not much. But now I'm noticing that his block is overcommitted to round strikes. And this is going to play a key part in this fight. I'm going to retreat because now my head off is actually getting low. He tries to fire off a hook in cross range. I plant and fire across. Beat him there, rock him and drop him. And now we're in the ground and pound. Prime Boxer does a really good job of framing off that right hook to stop himself from getting finished. I know he's not going to really go for a submission. I wasn't too worried about that. And he actually elects to get up. Not a good idea. So right here, we're gonna see. Watch this. Gonna feint. Gonna feint my way in there. Feint. Gonna feint the hook. He tries to duck, and he tries to fire back. Got his timing down. His head off is low. Back to making his guard overcommit to the round strikes. His head off is low, and the uppercut sneaks to the guard, just like Dustin Poirier did the Justin Gaethje. Drop him. Get some wrist control. 2 punches, and he is out. That is my first title defense on UFC 4 for ESFL Gaming. Shout out to the Dark Squad getting me ready for this fight. Shout out to Bartholomew from UBA helping me out. That was good. That was a good one. A lot of people, they thought Prime Boxer could get it done. They seen his fight with GOAT 1099. If you guys did not watch that fight in the Grand Prix, that fight was an absolute banger. He beat Papa Doc pretty convincingly. And he came over from Fight Night, and he's made some levels, man. He jumped some levels. I guarantee you he played some UFC 3 in a bit. Ain't no way. But, people were expecting this fight to be relatively close, and I wanted to make a statement. A lot of people, when they go fight the champ, they want the champ to try to, like, go and make sure, yeah, you got to worry about me. It's like, no. I'm not worried about you countering me. I'm going to neutralize you. I'm going to take away what you're good at, and I'm going to parlay that into my favor. But yeah, that's the first title defense for ESFL on UFC 4. I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. Win or lose, I'm planning on doing these breakdowns. I like it. I hope you guys did too. Hope you guys learned a little bit of something. Hope you guys learn how to counter some slippery hooks when people are planning those at you in rank. Like, share, comment, show me some love. RomeroXVII. I'm out of here.